Who is running presentation? Okay. The Board of Sign Language Interpreters Rules Advisory Committee meeting convening at 9:19 a.m. on October 14th, 2025. This meeting is being held in person and through Zoom video conference and is being recorded. The recording will be posted to the internet for public viewing. I will now call roll. Darcy? Here. Natalie absent. Ebony absent. Melanie?
Here.
Lori?
Here.
Caitlin? Christy?
Here. Here.
Amber? Amanda?
Here.
Deanna? Here.
Here.
Thank you. Erin?
Here.
Maya is absent. Members, when you wish to speak, please state your first name for the record. Committee members are asked to not use the chat feature during meetings. The Health Licensing Office asks the individuals attending on Zoom keep their phones muted and cameras off during the entire meeting or until given the opportunity to present public and interested parties feedback indicated on the agenda. Public comment is limited to matters listed on the meeting agenda or topics relevant to what this committee has statutory authority to regulate. Public members wishing to speak, please sign in on the roster sheet available in the room. Email Josh Page at josh.page@oha.oregon.gov and provide your first and last name. Everyone is asked to please use appropriate language, manners, and protocols when conducting committee business. This meeting is now called to order. Okay, hi everybody. Feels like a Monday. So I'm just gonna jump right in, so we have a lot to do. The agenda is set up pretty much like any other meeting agenda. However, I've added times. So that we're going to try very hard to stick with. I did it the same way as the last meeting, where things that need you to review are yellow, and things that you do not need to review are not yellow. And then the days are broken up because we can't have a continuous agenda that says, we do fees today and we don't get finished, we might do it tomorrow. We can't do that. So it's broken up into days. Today we'll deal with fees. That'll be first, and then the two exceptions. And then do any kind of fiscal. We can do fiscal on anything. I may have some questions. You guys may have more information, and then we'll get ready for tomorrow's meeting and then have a couple comment about 11:50. Meeting is scheduled to be done at noon, so I want to respect that for everybody since that was a hard time. So given that, I will hand it over to Bob to talk about fees.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm going to have Josh bring up a slideshow for us. What I would like to do is give an overview of where the board's financials are at today. And everything beyond that is just going to be projection, speculation, hopes as to what the financial status will be going forward. And bring it into what you've already seen are the suggested fees for the license and applications. Next slide, Josh, please. Can you zoom it in? One more,
You guys
please.
did not get this slideshow. So if you're looking for it, you do not have it.
It'll go in the materials, right, afterwards?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I apologize, that's on me. So what you're looking at here in this first slide is what I receive from our analyst as far as the expenditure report goes. And I'll touch on some things that don't make any sense to you, but you may wonder what the $480,791 is right there by grant on the grant line. That is just a number that is assigned for the analysts and the accountants and everybody else that is involved with money. That's how they identify the board. And the phase is the 2025 biennium, and you see the budget period on the third line, which is July 1, 2023 through 6/30/2025. And so these are actual numbers. Revenue that was brought in through license fees and application fees is $121,100 in 2025. The expenditures exceeded the revenues, and they are $146,999.72. And I will apologize for the decimal points and not rounding up, but the accountants, they count to the penny. So that's why we have decimal points. And then the remaining balance is a negative $25,899. So 121% of revenues taken in was spent. Anytime you have a question, please speak up. So this is through slide 2. Okay, this is through same time frame, and the next few slides will be where the money went that was brought in, or it was brought in. This slide shows what was brought in, the 121,100. Next slide, Josh. And this is the money that went out for personal services. See it? Yeah. Can everybody see it on their computer? Seeing heads nodding, yes?
Yes.
So,
Sort of. If you could give me just a moment to look it over before we proceed, that would be
Sure.
great.
Do you want us to go back a slide?
Want me to send it to him?
No, that's fine.
excuse me. Are we ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So these are expenditures. Personal service is somewhat self-explanatory, salaries, OPE. Services and supplies is the S&S down below, and so that includes the interpreters, office supplies, office services, and professional service contracts that are non-IT, and you can see that is a very low amount. Those are shared between all the boards. Next slide, Josh, please. So this is a continuation. I'll give you a minute. If someone wants to give me a thumbs up when they're ready to move on, I'll go through this and explain it to you. Okay, Deanna, put a thumbs up. Excuse me, Darcy, you ready? Okay. So as you can see, we have the employee training, telecommunication services, those are for the phones. And then our AG fee, which I'll just say is large. Then we have subscriptions and dues, and then other services and supplies for the office to keep us running and for this board. Then there's the direct allocations, which include rent and other services here in the building, electric, gas, lighting, whatever keeps the building open. And then the next, the indirect is a fee for assistance that we get from public health and central services, other services that the Oregon Health Authority provides to HLO. Now, all those included, the first slide in this slide is $146,999.72.
1 second for the internet to speak.
Bob, this is Amanda. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So you mentioned that the AG fees were large. Can you give us an idea of if that is normal for all the boards? Are we something special? Is just at the beginning? Like, can you give us a sense of what you mean by that is large?
Okay, yeah, thanks for the clarification. So we do use the AG at the beginning when new boards come on, and to make sure that all the rules and everything that we put in place are legal. And we do it, HLO does it on the front end rather than go through and make things happen and then have it on the back end where, you know, somebody is taking the HLO to court to say, oh, they violated this or they violated that. So we just have all of our ducks in a row to make sure that we get through it and it's done right once. And then once that's done, typically the AG fees subside. And since you asked the question, this high fee is because the board is very unique for HLO under our umbrella. And then we have the change with Senate Bill 950. So the rules advisory committees are continuing on.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay, next slide, Josh, please, unless there's any other questions. Okay, so here's some other expenditure details.
Mel has her hand up.
Mel?
Hey, we've talked about this before, but I wanted to go back and get clarification on it. Can you show me where the interpreting costs were?
They're not there.
You said it, no. But you-
Oh, I'm sorry.
Travel.
It's travel. I'm sorry.
Okay,
It's-
I was pretty sure that was right. I just wanted to clarify for everybody.
Okay, sorry about that.
Thank
It's the
you.
first time I'm in sharing, so, and this is pretty large. So the next slide that we're looking at here is a continuation of expenditures. So you see the Miller's Barbecue, Customer Care, Ross, those are from the catering. US National Bank is, we pay a fee to them for using services. And then down at the 6.0 allocation, allocated direct, again, is the rent and other fees associated with keeping HLO open. So they're not being counted twice. I think I added it again when I did the slide. If there's no questions, next slide, Josh. And it got added again. Sorry about that. So We've already seen this. These are fees that we paid to, in 7.0, again, it's fees that HLO pays to the Oregon Health Authority and the Public Health Division for the services that they provide to us. Darcy?
Wondering about the mention of paying for interpreters and paying for travel. Is that mentioned correct, right?
Is it interpreter travel?
It's the travel, not the interpreters, but only the travel.
Mileage reimbursement?
Interpreters or RAC members?
It's RAC members.
Well, I think that would be a clarification maybe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Who's the travel for?
The travel is for board members, RAC members.
Mileage reimbursement.
It's for mileage, hotels, if they stay in a hotel, et cetera, per diem. Next slide, Josh, please.
This is Darcy. I did have another question.
You mentioned the legal fees with the AG. Is that something we pay upfront, and then you said later, say next year or in 2 years, that will be a smaller amount? And so will that get us back into the positive with licensure and affect that in the future? Like, will we be in the black or will we stay in the red? How does that work with the legal fees going forward?
So it's a great question. And because the board has not had like a full biennium or even a full year without the limited waiver of enforcement in place, we don't know exactly how many applications we'll get in, how many renewals we will get. So it's pretty hard to say, and typically the AG fee will decrease. And it decreases because we won't have the RAC, and it won't, she won't be as involved, or DOJ won't be as involved with the meetings as they are today. Okay. Can you zoom in on that a little bit, Josh, please?
Yeah, it's maybe so you can't see the whole thing, but.
Okay. Okay, so the first few columns the first column is the application fee and license fees. And it says as needed for the application fees because you don't have to do an application fee, or an application fee isn't required every time someone renews a license. It's just for initial licensure. And we have all of them up there and recognizing that we won't have the medical, education, or legal any longer. So all the way over to the fourth and fifth columns are the actual number of applications and fees, license fees that were paid, and what the revenue was that came in. And it shows what a 2-year license, what it would be for a 2-year license. But again, we recognize that we're at a 3-year license. We just needed to do a projection. And moving over is, again, the 2-year fee. Scroll over one more. That's it. Okay. Go down to the next slide, Josh. So where we will see. So these are the active licenses The top box where it says active license are the current active licenses. And the larger box below are what it looked like over the biennium. Go down. Excuse me, next slide. So again, this kind of demonstrates what you've already seen for fees and the revenue that came in the 23-25 biennium. Down, Josh. Next slide, please. And so this slide here demonstrates Oregon and licenses, applications from other states. It shows them side by side there. You can see, and I'm just going to point it out, that the revenue from other states exceeded Oregon. Next slide. And these, again, are fees for the application and license. These are revenue. This is all revenue-based information for the biennium. And you see the note there that it does include the discounted application fees for education. Next slide. And so this slide demonstrates what it was for the 1-year license, the revenue for the 3 license types that we're going to move into: supervisory, general, and provisional, and how the revenue is going to be less. And again, I want to emphasize that these are just projections. HLO does not really know what the outlook is going to be 100. We can't guess 100% what it's going to look like. And this is through 2027. Excuse me, by 2027, the 3-year license. And Darcy, I saw your hand.
I'm wondering if this includes the,
In training license?
yes, for the new one.
Does not.
Why not?
Good question. We didn't think of the in-training license. And it's probably, it's in the fee, in the rule that's gonna be, less than the others. But, it's a great question and we can get that information for you.
This is the interpreter speaking. We're going to take this moment to interpreters.
Lori?
This is Lori, and I'm just thinking that it may be difficult to anticipate how many in training licenses they're going to be because you don't necessarily have that data about how many people are in schools that would need them at this point, I would think.
Thank you, and that's true. And it would be nothing more than a guess, like the 3-year license revenue is gonna be and what the outlook is gonna be like. But we will attempt to get the in-training fee incorporated into this. And this is a picture of the revenue projection and loss, potential loss. And the projection is that the revenue loss will be about $40,000.
And I have their hand up.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just really quick, cause I didn't really was able to see, sorry, this is Deanna. You said revenue from other states exceeded Oregon, and we didn't really have time to look at why. Can you speak to why, or what was
Sure.
it that? Thank you.
Sure. Other states provided we understand that they asked their licensees in other states that were doing like work in Oregon, the companies were telling them that they needed to be licensed. So they all got a license.
Darcy has her hand raised.
Darcy?
This is Darcy. I reviewed some of those items that we had talked about from our last meeting. Some possible reasons. I was looking at Illinois. No, that's not right. Nebraska. It looks like Nebraska has licensure for video remote interpreting businesses. So people who are in state or out of state that are providing VRI services are required to get a license. And that seemed to have helped Nebraska with their budget concerns. I can't remember how much their fee was, but there was a fee. It was a little over $100, $120, $150. It was basically that fee supported the licensing arrangement for Nebraska. So now that we're on the topic of fees, it's just an idea to put out there, something to think about that might be able to help out the Oregon interpreters. Since we don't have a huge population like some other states do, it might be a nice boost for us to help us keep our expenses low for our in-state interpreters. And at the same time, include interpreters from out of state for services, and they would help out with our budget. Just an idea.
So out of state, folks that work that have a license in another state, and are recognized by Oregon don't have to get an Oregon license. That's in statute. If I understood your question. So Senate Bill 950 made it possible for other folks licensed in other states, interpreters licensed in other states, that require them to have a license. Oregon does not require them to get an Oregon license.
I was speaking specifically of VRI interpreters, video remote interpreters specifically. That interpreters that are working in video remote interpreting services from other states, sometimes other states will charge a fee for that type of service. Whether they're interpreting for medical settings, educational settings, other things. Something to consider is having a fee assessed to out-of-state video remote interpreters.
I don't know if I don't think our statute allows us that. I think we have to have statutory authority to assess fees. And we will get an answer to that. That's a good question. The answer may be sooner than I think. So in the bill, Senate Bill 950, Section 2, so paragraph 3, the board may adopt rules to carry out this section. The board may not require a person described in this section to submit any information or pay a fee to the board in order to provide sign language interpretation services as allowed by this section. And this is a section about out of state. So HLO doesn't have the authority to assess a fee for out-of-state licensees. Any other questions?
Amanda has her hand raised. You can't see her up there though.
No, I didn't.
Oh, sorry. I can use
Amanda?
my digital hand next time. This is Amanda. I just wanted to say that we were talking earlier about not knowing how many in-training licenses. I think between myself and Darcy, we could probably get you a rough number of people who are students currently. There's only 2 programs, and that can always be true. The 2 programs could be reached out to get that number. That doesn't account for people not in school who might also avail themselves of this. I mean, we'll have to check on numbers for that, but I think conservatively, it would be about 30 students a year between the 2 programs. In a good year, it might be 40 who would be eligible for that in-training license. And I think, I mean, I'll defer to Darcy. I don't know for sure PCC's numbers, but I think WU is between 20 and 25 every year. They're not all in-state students, but it's at least a starting point.
Sure, if you could provide that information to Sammy, and she'll get it to me. And we'll get our analyst on it.
I think we might have 11 this year.
Okay. So yeah, please send the information to Sammy and she'll get it to me and we'll get some numbers worked into it. Next slide, Josh, please. Not to add salt to a wound. So these are your out-of-state fees. This is, as you can see, they paid the same application fee and same license fees. And you can see what the numbers are in the 3rd column. This is current. This is current. These, I'm sorry, I wasn't speaking loud enough. These are current fee. This is for the 23-25 biennium. And you can see the note at the bottom there that the analyst's concern is that with the elimination of out of state, there will be a 57% loss in revenue. Josh, next slide, please. And this is a picture of what you just saw. It just demonstrates where the revenue came from and what licenses are getting obtained, were getting obtained for out of state. Next slide, Josh, please. Okay, so one of the things we were asked to do, can you make that bigger, Josh, please? Was to get a national average. Yes. So this slide and the next slide depict the states that have licensure and what the licenses are. And so go to the next slide, Josh, please.
Bob, this is Amanda. Can you explain the average in other states column or whatever that one was titled, the farthest right column?
Sure. A little more. It's a great question. It might explain on the next slide. Don't put me on, Josh, go to the next slide. Sorry about that. Zoom in so I can see the notes. Okay. Slide over to the last column, Josh. Sorry about that, folks. Scroll in. Or zoom in.
This is Darcy.
Go ahead, Dorothy.
Lori has her hand up.
I'm trying to answer the last question and I don't recall what that number was.
Hey, Bob, this is Lori. I'm just wondering if you can tell me if these numbers are annual numbers or are they every 2 years, every 3 years, or does it vary?
It varies.
Darcy has her hand up.
Go ahead, Darcy. I'm trying to get to that slide for myself.
And that second column, what does that represent?
The second column is the fee. So the second column are the fees. The third column is a total of the fee, of all fees combined. And the third column is an average for that state.
I see. Can you go down to Illinois? Is Illinois there?
Illinois, maybe,
There we go.
there it is.
I see. It doesn't show details of the licensure. I see. What about Nebraska? Nebraska, is Nebraska included in this list?
It's, if they have a license, it should be. But yes, it is. They have the apprentice license, temporary permit, VRI. Is that what you were talking about, Darcy?
Yes. Okay. Yes, that's what I was referring to.
This is Lori. Does this mean that, just in looking at Nebraska, for an example, does this mean that if the intermediary license is $50 and they recouped $425,
No, that's not correct.
okay,
It's the 425 is the total of the apprentice, the temporary VRI, interpreter, translator.
for all of the license, that's the amount of money they got, or that's the amount of money that it costs for each of those licenses? I'm not
It's a
following
total-
this.
Total cost. It's not revenue taken in. We don't know what the revenue is for.
Okay. Okay.
And just one moment for the interpreters to switch. All right,
And the,
Darcy has her hand up.
Darcy?
Okay, so I'm trying to have the bigger picture of this. Does that mean that we only have 4 types of licenses compared to previously when we had, before Senate Bill 950 passed, we had 6 or 7 different licenses? Is that right?
That's
6 or 7,
correct.
I can't remember how many exactly. And so it was based off of that revenue, which after the law was passed, certain licenses were removed, legal education, medical, and then now we've added the in-training license, and that has impacted the fees and our revenue. And is that what's showing how it could impact the budget potentially?
The previous slides, yes, that is correct.
Compared to when we had more fees and income with the previous amount of licenses. And so that would earn us more money retrospectively, correct?
Correct. So on the averages, so the fourth column is a total amount for the licenses divided by all the licenses. That's what the number is in the fifth column. That's the average, $114.58 average in Massachusetts. 35.42 average in Nebraska, and so on. And I see Amanda and Aaron. Amanda, go ahead.
This is Amanda. So, this might be challenging. I'm trying to find it in my notes, but can you read the language in the 950 again about what the responsibility is in comparing to other states?
Stand by, let me
Yeah.
find it.
Second one.
So you're asking about what the bill says about
Yeah.
responsibility?
Yeah, to compare to other states.
It says that notwithstanding 676,576, establish fees for the issuance and renewal of licenses under 676,750 to 676,789, which is sign language interpreters. In
Mhm.
establishing fees, the board shall consider funding requirements of the office as related to carrying out the office duties for the Board of Sign Language Interpreters and the national average for similar fees.
Okay. Because I'm just thinking that this chart combines, like, I'm not sure it's apples to apples across each of the states. So I'm thinking, I'm just wondering in terms of like a generalist, generally speaking, even though they, obviously differ, but because like states that have more offerings look cheaper, but that's because it's across a larger number of licenses as opposed to, am I making sense about how the math is working out?
Yes, you are, and you're
Okay.
correct. It is not apples to apples.
Yeah. But I just want to make sure we're following. I mean, you've considered the other states. I see it. I see that there.
Yes. And it's all about a total average. An overall average. We did not get into the granular aspect of what each license does, because that would take us quite a while.
This is Amanda again. I'm sorry. Are we on here yet? Do we have our average?
No.
I mean, I know that they're only proposed fees, but
yeah, your fees are proposed. Oregon is not on there because Oregon wasn't considered in what the rest of the country looks like.
totally. Thank you.
Aaron?
Yeah, thank you. This is Erin. So if I'm understanding correctly, it sounds like our biggest gap in revenue is because we can't charge out of state people like we were previously. And so I'm curious as to why that was changed. I know we can't change it now, but they were willing to pay them before, so why wouldn't we want to charge them again? And then when's the next time we could put that back into the statute so that we could get that revenue?
Two questions or two answers. One, HLO was not consulted when the bill was prepared. And it would take another change, maybe from, it could be an individual, it could be an organization, to bring a change to the legislature to have those fees reinstated.
Can I ask one more question? This is Erin.
Sure, and Darcy, I saw your hand was up.
Do we have to wait until like a certain period of time to do that, or could that be done at any time?
It could be done at any time, but, HLO is having a real hard time grappling with what the projected, revenues and expenditures are, as we've gone through, the last years of rules advisory committees, not having anything in place. I'm not trying to point the finger at anybody. This has been a very difficult task. But until we're able to get a good picture, like an entire biennium, maybe two, to see how it all unfolds and what the revenues will be, what the expenditures are, once we don't have DOJ in the office every month. She's sitting right next to me. But, and no offense to DOJ, Heather's awesome. So, yeah, it can be done anytime, really. If you can get a legislator's ear and you get them to make a change, more power to you. I would ask though, if you do that, please consult with the HLO and maybe we can get some other things fixed, if there are other things to be fixed.
Thank you. I was just curious. That's helpful.
Darcy.
Okay, so I want to go back to the different states that we've already considered that are on this list and their licenses. So that aside, what about interpreters out of state who are not included in that summary of revenue? And how does that compare to Oregon licensure? Could that be another area of revenue that we can pursue?
Yes,
A thought.
so those other states
If they're
would,
not on the list of accepted states. Whether or not they're in person, in state or out of state. Like, for example, Washington State, California. Some interpreters work in Portland and are from those states. So would they still be required to have Oregon license? It depends.
as long as they do not fall into an exception. So I recognize that all of these states are all 50.
Exactly.
And those states may need to pay. But we don't know what those numbers are right now. What you're seeing in front of you is an average of states that we identified that have licensure. And with them all combined, what the average is for all 12 of those states. And it is approximately $528.50 on average. Amanda?
This is Amanda. Following up kind of on what Darcy was saying, the people who that 57% of our revenue that is out of state licenses, presumably they provide us their physical address. Is that something that we can see how many of them would fall into this exception versus how many would need to purchase a license?
I'm not quite sure I follow. If we don't require them to even tell us where they are, and if they fall in, if they are one of these states that we recognize, they don't have to tell us anything.
Right, this is Amanda. But we already have data of people who are out of state who have paid licensing fees in the past, that 57% of our revenue. We have that data, presumably, and presumably we asked them their physical address when they applied. I think I had to put my physical address down when I applied.
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
And yes,
so
we
I'm
did-
wondering
we
if we
did-
can know how many of them would fall into this exception or not need to give us anything versus those that represent states that would have to pay a licensing fee.
Yes, I think we can extrapolate something out of that, but we didn't
Okay.
for this presentation.
No, for sure. Yeah, I just wondering if we could get that.
23 what? Oh, okay. And so our task, the reason for this slide is to show what the average is across the country, and that's what's required in the bill. Senate Bill 950. Next slide, please.
There's no more slides.
And okay, there's no more slides. Should have put a slide in there for in. I apologize. Aaron?
So when we're short, where does that money come from? Like, I don't want to derail us too much, but you know, we can't also suddenly have such high license fees to make up for that people can't even afford to get a license. So I'm concerned about that and how long we can go with a shortfall.
Well, we go as long as we have to, but we shouldn't be in the red. As we go through the time and as the bienniums begin and end. It just shows what the balance is, what the negative balance is, and we move on. And we try to work our best to get our boards in the black at the least expense. And again, this sport is an anomaly, but is something HLO took head on, and we weren't sure what to do, how to do it, make it happen. And with all the changes, and some of them appear to be constant, but with all the changes, and again, this is just projection. We honestly, I can't tell you this is how it's going to be. We honestly don't know. We would just need time, get through the rules, get them in place, get a biennium or two behind us, see what's actually happening in the real world for revenue and expenditures, and then we can make a guess or make a better guess. But to answer your question, I almost don't have an answer for you other than we just keep moving on. You operate in the negative, and we do our best to get you in the black and make the board solvent.
1 minute for the interpreters to switch.
When will we schedule the break?
10:20.
Oh, Darcy.
I'm wondering if, so right now we're in the red, we're negative. In the future, say in 2 years, we have that biennium, or 3 years with the licensing that we set it up, most people are getting their licenses, everything's in place, and we look at the numbers again, is it possible to raise the fees at that point, seeing that we haven't gotten out of the red? So would we be able to just go ahead and decide to change those to then help us get back into the black? If it's indicated that we've been in the red this whole time?
That's very perceptive, but we do it in the reverse. It's more difficult to increase fees because we have to go through the legislative process. Actually, it's called the 333 process, where we have to go through DAS, provide them a bunch of information, and then it goes to the legislature. And so that can take some time. But we set them high if we look like we're doing good, we're going in the right direction, or we find ourselves in the positive territory, in the black, then HLO can offer a discount. Lori?
This is Lori. So are you saying that the actual fees need to go through the legislature? Because I thought the board actually is the entity that determines the fees.
Well, that was a different question. So, and you're correct, in Senate Bill 950, the board gets to determine the fees. But they also have to keep in mind that they need to make this decision, keeping the board solvent, or
Sure.
getting them to be solvent to the solvency. And then if they accept what we propose, then hopefully it's not very long, and then we start giving discounts at renewals.
And then in the event that the fees aren't enough to cover, then the board has to reconvene and agree to increase those fees, correct?
Correct.
And the legislature has to codify every fee, every executive fee. So even though the board determines it, at the end of the day, the legislature is going to say yes or no. Whether the
Okay.
fees or after the fees in place.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah,
Not
so
good, but helpful.
So the board may decide the fee, you know, after we put some fees in place and they decide they need to go higher, they can say they go higher. But there's a process that goes along with that before we can actually make them higher. Any other questions? Okay. Then, what's next on the agenda, Tammy? Sorry.
We're at 10 minutes.
Oh, time for a 10-minute break.
Amanda's got her hand up.
Who?
Amanda had her hand up.
We're on break. No, joking,
Okay.
Amanda.
Withdrawn.
Go ahead.
This is Amanda. So Bob, you gave us all that information, great, etc. That's how the proposed draft rule that is supervisory 600 for 3 years, generalist 600 for 3 years, provisional 300 for 3 years, and the in-training 50 for 1 year. That's that math from those spreadsheets resulted in this information, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So this would get us in the black?
I
We
don't
think
know.
it's
We
a
hope.
hypothetical starting point.
Hypothetically, we hope that it gets.
And
so-
hypothetically a high starting point, correct?
We hope so, yes. It's,
Okay.
it's high for sure.
Yeah.
However, you know, if you notice, we didn't change the fee. We just multiplied it by the number of years.
Right.
So, you know, you can look at it as, oh my gosh, that's high to come up with the money, but it also gives someone an opportunity to put some money aside knowing that their renewal fees are what they are. So,
So this,
you know, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, this is Amanda again. I think maybe that's my concern is that, like, yes, this is ×3. Is this actually going to help if we lose out-of-state licenses? If we, like, is it high enough so that we can then offer discounts later? Knowing that the AG amount will go down over time, et cetera, but I guess that's
It's
my
all-
concern.
It's all projected, right? We honestly, I don't have a 100% answer for you because we just don't know at this point.
Gotcha. We need data. Yeah.
Yeah,
Time.
and like was mentioned, the folks that are out of state where they don't require licensure, and if they are coming to Oregon, yeah, we can take a look, and I missed that, I apologize. We can take a look and see what that looks like and bring it to y'all and the board.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Break.
15-minute break. Back at.
Hi, thank you for your patience. This is Bob Bothwell again, Director at HLO. Sorry for my tardiness. So the next item on the agenda, please. So on page 16. Correct me if I'm wrong. Are the fees that HLO is recommending. And based on some of the questions I received earlier, I think the committee members are aware of what we are recommending and why. Lori?
This is Lori, just so I'm clear, because I haven't submitted applications for these. when one applies, they pay the application fee and the issuance or renewal fee each time, question mark?
The application fee is one time
Okay,
upon initial licensure, and then they don't pay it again.
Okay.
It's just a renewal fee.
got it. Thank you.
Amanda?
This is Amanda. So I'm assuming that the application fee is going to be fairly low revenue generating because not all, but most people who are going to be licensed did it when we were allowed to apply for free. So we're not looking at the application fee as a big revenue generator, correct?
Correct. And
Yeah.
on the spreadsheet that we will get to, we'll put on our website or in the material for this meeting, you'll see in there that is 2-year and the 3-year, and it reduces by 50%.
Mel has her hand up.
Now,
Yeah, so like the application fee by reducing it to 50%, moving on, I think is what I just heard you say. Is that right, Bob?
the number of applicants.
So your numbers are probably skewed. The growth of interpreters is very slow. And our numbers stay pretty steady in the state. So if you look at how many of us are here, I mean, like I guess that in training license, like Amanda was saying, is maybe 20 students are entering the field a year. Being very generous. So that once the body has applied, the body has applied. The growth of that's gonna be pretty small unless we like start, people start moving to Oregon because we're so awesome. And then I again want to clarify, like these fees are kind of what they have been, and it's not taking into account the 57% loss of revenue. So I'm curious as to why we're not seeing an increase or a higher fee rate.
Well, we could do that.
I mean, I'm not asking you to, but I'm just
No, I
curious
know.
about what your thinking is.
No, our thinking was we're trying to meet in the middle. We understand, we've heard from the board members over the last year what their concern was. We heard from the licensees what their concerns were. And so, and we're being, we were being generous with our numbers as well. And mostly because we just don't know, honestly. So, yeah, we were hoping that, we only have a 50% loss of applicants, application revenue. But we understand it could be more. But we honestly, it's just been so difficult for the analyst to wrap his mind around how things will go in the future when we don't have a very solid base to pull from. Base of stats.
I guess thank you, and I appreciate that. I'm just thinking about my years of working in this field with this body of people, and thank you for staying the ground. I think once you lower fees, it's that much harder to raise them. And this is an opportunity one way or the other. Am I correct in also thinking then if we have like a couple of bienniums go by and we're still in the red, we will have to do a fee increase? Or
It will need to be considered.
yeah, okay. Thank you.
Lori?
I think one thing that we need to also just keep in the back of our heads is that I think there's probably a fair number of interpreters who haven't gotten a permanent license at this point because of the waiver, and they just weren't sure about what they should be doing at any given moment, whether if it's not going to be enforced, why should I do it? So maybe the number of interpreters that we have now will go up. Some, I mean, it will go up some, but I don't know, just putting that out there.
Yeah, and we think the same, and we just, again, and I keep saying the same thing, we don't know. And not everybody's contacted us and said, you know, I would get a license, but I'm gonna wait. We've had those calls, because they wanna make sure they're doing the right thing. Yeah, we honestly don't have a good base to analyze from. Project. Chrissy?
So I'm just thinking about the original issuance and renewal fees, so like 600 for 3 years, and maybe you've said this and I missed it, but will folks have the option to pay over time, or are they required to pay 600 at one time?
It's 600 at one time.
I can see that potentially being a barrier.
This is Amanda. Then perhaps we should have left it at annual. I know we are not the people who changed it to every 3 years, that the license would last 3 years, but when it was annual, you could pay it annually.
Right. Aaron?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I was also worried about is I'm thinking about like out of state folks who don't live in a state where they can have a license that's observed or honored. So then they're going to need to get licensed here. So they may just choose, I'm not going to provide VRI services to that state because I can't afford the $600. And so that means we're going to have less access in the emergency room and labor delivery when we need something, some sort of stopgap until our in-person interpreter can get here. So I'm concerned about that. I don't know that we can do it. It sounds like we can't do anything about that, but that's a big concern of mine.
Well,
I just looked on our registry of interpreters for the deaf, and Oregon has 209 certified interpreters right now in the state, which would be our generalist or supervisory level. That's not including the EIPA people though, potentially.
Amanda?
This is Amanda. Mel, I'm sorry, can you say where you got that data from again?
The RID search a member, just certified.
That's funny. You got 209?
Thought I did, maybe I looked wrong.
I got a different number, so let me go look at mine.
I just put in the state of Oregon. I did, and then I left it. Yeah, okay. You're wrong. Never. That never happens. Everybody, it's recorded. Okay. I'm just kidding. Never happened.
Yes, you're right.
I agree with Aaron's fear at the $600 price tag for out-of-state people. Yeah,
For all people.
for all people.
Yeah. And also this is Erin, we don't know really how many out-of-state people are currently providing video services that would then suddenly have to pay. So we don't really know what the impact of this is yet.
Amanda?
This is Amanda. feel free to say that's out of the scope of this conversation. But I'm just curious of like, yes, SB 950 passed. Yes, it was enacted into law. But now that we've come across so many issues, is there a mechanism for saying like, emergency sounds too extreme, but like, can we emergency pause it? Or say, actually, let's rethink this? Or, I mean, is there a mechanism for us besides the one that Aaron asked about where we propose new legislation and have it go through the whole process again? Is there anything for a stopgap measure, or we just have to see it through?
Well, we have to see it through. It's in law. But like I mentioned earlier, I think it was to Lori or Chrissy, that if someone wants to bring something to a legislator, and that's how these things have happened, get a hold of a legislator and let them know what your concerns are and what you think the fix would be. And then, you know, and again, that could take the better part of a year or more.
Right.
We're gonna switch interpreters.
Aaron, I see your hand, but I also had Darcy's up there. I'm sorry. Let the interpreters get ready. So Darcy?
Darcy, you go first. I can go after you.
Oh, Aaron can go, that's fine.
Okay, go ahead, Aaron.
Okay, thank you. Let me lower my hand. So I'm thinking, if someone's in a state that doesn't have that license, they could just go to one of the, they could just say, oh, I'm going to apply at the cheapest state that has the cheapest license. And then they could provide services in Oregon, right? Like those states don't necessarily have residency requirements in order to apply for a license in those states. So that would be a way to kind of get around this, even though that would mean Oregon loses that revenue. I think that's why we need to actually have something in place so we actually capture revenue that comes to our state. So there aren't these backdoor ways that they can, I mean, I still want people to get services, but I think this is like something we need to fix long term.
Darcy?
I was going to ask for clarification about the $600. Where did the $600 licensing fee come from? Is that just an estimate that was put in? Or did I miss something?
We took the current fee and just multiplied it by 3.
I see.
Melanie?
Sorry, only my mom calls me Melanie. Sorry.
Sorry, Mel.
That's okay. When I work at the judicial department in the certification and training program, we did recognize certification from other states as well, our credentials from other states, but we did have an application fee still, I think, for reciprocity. I mean, that might be low hanging fruit, but it was over 57% of our applicants. So I'm just considering that, like, how we can recognize it, but there's a process to recognize it that still includes a fee. Thank you.
Yeah, but in Senate Bill 950, I don't believe there is that requirement.
It might be silent on the matter. I think it just says you don't have to have.
Not silent on infection too.
I don't know.
So section 2, it is pretty clear. The board may not require a person described in this section to submit any information or pay a fee to the board in order to provide sign language interpretation services as allowed by this section. Oh, I thought you had your hand up, sorry.
I was looking for my emoticons. I didn't see any.
Oh, Amanda.
This is Amanda. I mean, all of us are interested in kind of solving something, but I think the sense I'm getting is at this moment, our job is just to deal with what is and move forward. And then we will collect data. We will see how it all plays out. We will identify the actual problems that occur. And there are avenues for people to pursue. But right now, our task is to say, yep, that makes sense budgetarily. 600 for 3 years. I guess I'm concerned it's a little low, given some of the other impacts of SB 950, but also totally fine as a starting point for seeing how it all plays out.
Thank you for, this is Bob. Thank you for saying that. It takes a load off us. We get it. We understand. We've heard it for over a year that the fees were what they were. And at that point, when we put them in place the first time that was approved by legislature, we really didn't have any idea. And I'll be honest, I didn't even consider out of state. I was looking what we had in state. We looked at different lists and got numbers, and that's what and then we took a board with this possible same number of licensees to see what it would look like from that point. And again, it's a guessing game at some point. Any other questions on the fees? Moving on then.
Okay, we're on page 21. And you guys could look at this the last time, but we made a few, you had a couple comments that you wanted us to address, so we did that. And so 23 has those bullets. So what this does is it's an exception allows a person to work in Oregon without a license. There's no limit for this person to work in Oregon. This person is not physically present in Oregon. So this is the BRI people. And the board must determine what state licenses or other state authorizations qualify the person to work in Oregon without a license. There was a lot of discussion about the pathways and how I made some determinations. So what we did is we went back and so on top of mid-page 23, so it's a subsection 3. So I should have put the page number that was done. So top page 25, you'll see it actually, we actually say a person who holds a valid authorization issued by another state to provide sign language interpretation services in Oregon without obtaining an Oregon license. The requirements are substantially equivalent. And then that 816-025-00-305A and B are the credential and the exam. So that kind of answered the questions you guys had last time. I would just added it in here. And documentation as a suggestion that it is encouraged to maintain documentation and then why. So in case we get a complaint, we need to investigate, We can request records. It's not saying you must do it, but it's making a suggestion that you do. Any questions about that one? Okay. Then moving along to the next section is page 26. This one we looked at as well last time, but you guys had some of the same questions. And this one is for the person who comes into Oregon as working temporarily. You guys determined 30 days. That did not have to be consecutive. 1 minute to 1 hour, 4 hours is whatever amount of hours they work in that day. It's considered a day. So you made all those decisions. What we did is we circled back again to the those pathways, the licensure under oh, we didn't do that, I'm sorry. Okay. So
Darcy's has her hand raised.
go ahead. Yeah.
I was, just hold on a minute, I'm still gathering my thoughts. Yeah, I might have raised my hand prematurely. I think you're gonna talk about it.
So what this one did have the states listed, but because the way this one is worded is if a person has a license in another state, then they can come in here and work for their 30 days. What the board has to do is decide what those other qualifiers are. And so, and what we've decided is it's those two pathways. Pathway, the exam pathway and the RID pathway. So it doesn't actually limit the states like it was limiting which ones. So that's not actually relevant. It's just we're able to determine the other qualifier. And so that's what I did, as I removed the state and circled back to those two pathways. Told them if they didn't. So some section 5 just says that if they don't meet one of the requirements, they can apply for a license under one of these licenses. And then again, the documentation suggestion.
This is Amanda. Am I correct that this is another place where we don't collect any information from anybody? This is just for show.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, we did have the documentation that they should keep it. And it also, well, at least in this section 2 one, the one we just talked about, that one actually in the law, it says you still can get a license if you want to. You don't have to remain exempt. I mean, you can go ahead and get a license, and people may decide to do that. I don't know what companies are gonna require their interpreters to do. So, I'm not sure the word is out there quite yet. So we'll see as time goes by. Any other questions? Darcy, did you have a question about this one? And Lori?
My question is, these folks still have to apply? No, they don't have to apply for a license. So I guess I'm wondering about the EIPA 4.0 or above. part of this. This would indicate to me, based on our current understanding, that this would be somebody who's essentially equivalent to a supervisory level interpreter.
Yeah. Or a generalist. They wouldn't have to have the 3 years experience.
Okay. But we haven't agreed that a 4.0 would be the generalist EIPA score, right?
Correct. That's tomorrow.
So I might want to revisit this, I guess is what I'm saying, after we have those discussions.
Well, I think that there's room to say, change it.
Okay.
Let you guys decide tomorrow. Yeah, because all these are back on the agenda for tomorrow, but at the very end.
Thursday, right?
Yes, I mean Thursday, sorry.
I figured, just making sure.
And just one moment for the interpreters to switch.
You guys could just say whatever you decide on Thursday, you want the generalist to be, you can automatically just say, we want to plunk those numbers in here. Okay, perfect. Any questions, other questions? I got the fiscal impacts last meeting for these two. Have the new fiscal impacts for either of these? I think I got the fiscal impact on the fees. Seems. Yes.
This is Amanda. I know HLO is filling out the form for fiscal impact, but I think HLO will be fiscally impacted by these fees
Absolutely.
for good
First
or
on the
bad.
list. Yeah, yes. Good point. Somehow I'm going to sweep a lot of agencies into one paragraph. I don't know how yet. It'll be wait to be seen. If there are no other questions and we don't have anything else to talk about a statement of need or fiscal impact, then we can go over the agenda for tomorrow, and then we can break an hour early. That's weird. But I'm okay with that. Yeah, right. Thursday, I keep saying tomorrow, but it's Thursday. So Thursday, we're going to, start off with, my intro mood that I do every time. And then we'll go into executive session, for the 20 minutes. And then we'll go into talking about the sign language interpreter and training license, which you should have received all of these yesterday morning with your page numbers. Sorry about that. I remembered at like 2 in the morning. I forgot the page numbers. Like that. So yes, you received those. And then once we finish that, you guys have finished all your work under 950. And so everything that comes after that first break is just finishing up everything with the provisional license and the generalist and the supervisor. So, and I've kind of listed out what those topics are, and they're highlighted in yellow, which you'll have colored copies if you come here on Thursday lunch. So, depending on if you're here or not. Other than that, and then we'll go back over fiscal impacts for all the different license types to make sure I've gotten everything. So if you think of things, I know Amanda just sent me some information on students. Do you guys have anything on students? Just to keep feeding me information. If you've got stuff on things in education, things in interpreter agencies that might be impacted, just shoot me emails and I'm happy to add that kind of stuff in to the fiscal. Yes, Erin.
I just was curious if most people are coming in, or are we doing this online on Thursday?
I'm coming in.
You guys are good onliners, but you guys are good in person too.
Darcy has her hand up. You got it.
Unless I'm the only one coming in which case I will not come in. This is Lori.
What did Darcy say?
Oh, I was saying I prefer face to face.
Okay, then I will read us into public and interested parties feedback, if you guys are okay with that. And I'm gonna gift you guys an hour. That never happens. Okay, at this time, the Board of Sign Language Interpreters Rules Advisory Committee will hear public and interested parties feedback. Public comment is limited to matters listed on the agenda or topics relevant to what this committee has statutory authority to regulate. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes, will not be allowed if they are disruptive to the committee's conduct of its business. If you're called on to comment, HLO staff will request the public member to unmute themselves. HLO reserves the right to end a person's comment early and have HLO staff mute the public member if the comment does not pertain to matters listed on the agenda or topics relevant what this committee has statutory authority to regulate. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment? No one? Okay, hearing none. The Board of Sign Language Interpreters Rules Advisory Committee meeting is adjourned at 11:10 a.m. So 9:30 on Thursday.
See you then. Thank you.